Hey everyone, it's Ryan from the Ghost Hunting Club. In this video, we're going to be counting down our top 5 favorite investigations of all time. Coming in at number 5 on our list is the Trebek Clinic. We hadn't heard of this before, and it took a lot of research to find it, and we didn't expect much going in, but every time we've gone there, we've gotten a ton of evidence, we've had a ton of personal experiences, and it's just a great place to hunt all around. There's one incident that really stands out, and it's from a trip where it was just me, Greg, and Nick. We were in a room by the stairs. It was just like a study, and there was just a huge crashing sound, almost like a chair got knocked over or something fell. And we searched all throughout the house, upstairs, the basement, the first floor. We even went outside to see if someone smashed one of our car windows, because that's how loud the sound was. And we didn't see anything out of place, and it was one of the weirdest experiences we've ever had. And that's why the Trebek Clinic comes in at number 5 on our best places to hunt.
So coming in at number 4 for us, and definitely one of my favorite cases, was, I guess it was our first residential case, like a private client, and we got one in Waxhaw, North Carolina. It was in more of an upper class neighborhood, which was kind of surprising, but the family called us in because they'd been experiencing some, I don't want to say darker activity, but places where they felt uncomfortable in the house. And it was a very large house, so if you were alone, then you would definitely feel uncomfortable. In terms of personal experiences throughout the night, there were times where it would feel really heavy when you enter a room, and then later on you could enter the room and it wouldn't feel like anything would happen at all. It felt a little bit different than like when we would go to battleships or other places where people may have died and they were very respectable people. So that was very interesting, but the best part for us was the evidence we captured from there. We literally captured probably 20 to 30 pieces of evidence that we were able to show the family, which helped them cope with it, because it meant that they weren't crazy and just seeing things and hearing things, but we were able to present it to them, and they can show others and have a peace of mind that they weren't the only ones there and be able to accept that. And that's why we chose Waxhaw as our 4th favorite investigation.
And of course, any all-time favorite paranormal investigation locations list would not be complete without Waverly Hills. So we went in May of 2016, and honestly, I've wanted to go to Waverly Hills for a very long time, and so it was kind of like a bucket list opportunity for me. It was such a fun experience overall. The fact that, as a group, we just went and traveled all the way to Kentucky, which is about a 9-hour drive from where we are. We only had a certain amount of time to drive up there, set up, investigate, and get out before our time was up. And it was just a surreal experience for sure. As far as the night goes and the paranormal activity we experienced there, it was pretty calm the whole night for us. It was just, I guess, just a bad night. Nothing inside of Waverly Hills wanted to make itself blatantly known. The entire group pretty much had an uneventful night. However, when we started reviewing the evidence from it, that's when things got a little bit weird. We got tons of EVPs, tons of really random footsteps, noises, bangs, and a lot of really good showable evidence, which is of course what we're always looking to capture. But overall, even with a lack of activity while we were there, the evidence made up for it, and it was definitely a night to remember.
Our number 2 choice is the USS Yorktown in Charleston, South Carolina. The reason we chose the USS Yorktown as our 2nd top choice is because the last time we were there, we experienced a lot of paranormal activity and really cool things happened in person, but also afterwards, when we reviewed the evidence, we caught a lot of really cool evidence that's on our YouTube channel. The last time we were there, Nick and I had a really cool experience where we would go to this one specific location within the ship, and you could just sit there and it almost sounded as if someone was going through their day on the battleship, and you could listen in on their conversation for minutes and minutes at a time. And then we would leave, and when we would come back like 2 hours later, we could still hear that same conversation happening, as if it was like on replay. And that's why the USS Yorktown was our 2nd favorite investigation.
And our number 1 pick for our all-time favorite investigation, definitely hands down, has to be the USS North Carolina battleship. The battleship by far is my all-time favorite place. It's a place that is so rich in history. Ryan, myself, and a couple of other team members were down in sick bay. We were in the sick bay dressing room, which is pretty much an area where they would prep people for surgery or they would bandage wounds, etc. And we kept hearing a tiny squeak. And at the time, we thought it was the table in the room squeaking. And so we just ignored it. And it got on my nerves so much, I just mentioned it, what is the squeaking? Does anyone else hear it? And everyone's like, no, it's definitely coming from outside in the hallway. When we go into the hallway, the noise is so much louder. It sounds like a giant metal table almost, like screeching down a concrete floor. We believe that it was one of the beds in sickbay actually depressing. On the bottom of the beds, they had springs that were almost like a chain link fence, but they were springs. And when you would sit on them or push down on them, they would make an audible squeak. And that's what we think we were hearing.
Whoa.
What's up?
I just saw a shadow in that room.
Come on. Squeak's back here, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, like this has the signs of the paranormal. There was a constant. Is that it?
One of the more incredible paranormal experiences I've ever had, regardless of location, was on the USS North Carolina. Myself, Emily, and Dylan were down near sickbay. It was late into the investigation. Nothing had been happening, so I asked it to try to scare me, because we had been there about 4 times in the past, and so I felt like I knew what it could do. About 15 minutes after I had asked it to scare us, we were all standing in sickbay. We all heard a very clear whistle. So when I turned to look where the whistle was coming from, there was someone clearly standing in the doorway. So when Emily asked me, "Did you whistle?" I said, "No, that was Dylan," and pointed to where I thought Dylan was. And then I looked back at Emily, and Dylan is standing right behind Emily.
So hearing the whistle as well, it was kind of an odd thing because we assumed it was someone that was with us when it wasn't. Seeing the apparition was kind of an odd thing for me, being the first time. Kind of caught me off guard.
And I pointed the camera at Ryan to say, "Was that you whistling?" Which is when he pointed up and said, "No, I thought it was Dylan." And turns out Dylan was not where he was pointing because Dylan was standing directly behind me.
While being an unsettling moment, it was one of the most craziest, best times I've ever had.
The fact that someone else saw the apparition that I saw backs up to me that this is one of the most incredible paranormal experiences I've ever had, and this is part of the reason we ranked the North Carolina as the top place to investigate.